John. Good.
Okay, great. By the way, Okay, we just start really light just with the feet, just coming up, just for mobility. And we're just rolling the ankle, one side. This side. Slightly rolling the knees. Okay, on the hips. Okay, just twist it very lightly. Start to let the arms go loose. Just working the chest. Other way. On the shoulders. And forwards. Make them bigger. And back. And smaller. Very light, working the head. Okay. Great. Oh, it's gone. Come on in. Okay, we'll do a little bit of the foundation stuff, but before this is a really nice practice, which I've not really explained. I've done it once before in the workshop, but not in these classes. So the first thing is actually this what's known as a kind of decompression breath. So the first is this is the breath we use all the time when you do these positions, and we've kind of covered it, but not from a standing position. So the first thing you can do, which can help, is you make like a surfer's sign. You make like little finger thumb, and you find the hip bone with the little finger, just the top of the pelvis. And then with the thumb, you want to put it just in the base of the lower rib. So the lowest rib you can find, just put it here. Now, what you'll probably notice if I'm just kind of standing naturally, it's quite narrow. So it's quite closed like this. So the whole point of this decompression breathing is to get the breath, open this whole part of the body and start to pull the body up, which is kind of the point of decompression, because through the day, everything's kind of getting smaller and smaller. So just get this point. Now the breath's a really specific one. So you're breathing in through the nose, and you want to feel like the lungs are kind of opening up, filling out, and really expanding out to the back. So what's going to happen as you do it is pulling the back of the neck up, and the chest kind of pulling out a little bit. Okay, and then you just hold it, natural breath, and then as you let it out, try and maintain the length that you've created here. So as you breathe out, Actually, the stomach's going to pull away from the belt. If you've got a belt on, if you've got pants on. And then you just keep this decompression. And then the aim is to maintain it as you go through. So keep that position. Deep in. Deep out. Deeply in. Deeply out. And you want to feel more and more like the head's kind of pulling up. Everything's becoming lighter. And you're expanding the lungs and opening the shoulders so that they can start to sit in the natural position, which is more back and down than front and compressed. So just do about 2 minutes of it, just in your own time, and follow your own breath, just deeply in, deeply out. And the aim is decompression. It's not to, there's nothing really fancy about it, and there's nothing mystical about it. It's just to create length, especially in the upper torso. Just deeply in. And especially the back portion of the lungs, so if you can really start to open them out, push. It's as if you're sitting in a car, back seat of a car. The head's kind of pressing up towards the headrest, and as if the back of the lungs is really filling, expanding into the back of the seat. And the breath out's just as important as the breath in, maintaining the length. And out. Okay, we're going to really light founder. So you just set the body down. As you do it, we do generally about 3 breaths through each movement. So, and do those kind of breaths. Now, depending on how tense the body, you can do a long breath, but you don't want to do too long. So make it kind of a natural breath, but deep. So start with this position, wide. And it's kind of chest up, chin back. So you want to feel, breathe out, keep the length through the body. And every breath, just feel you're creating more length. Settle the body back a little bit more. And the third breath, as you release it, bring the hands up. So they're about the level of the heart. So this position here, it's quite a light movement. Again, chest up, chin back, nice deep breaths. Next, deep breath out. Draw the hands up, pull the hips back. High as you can go with the hands. Really hinging from the pelvis back. Next, deep breath out. I'm just going to come back to the original position, a little bit lower. And that means not bending the knees more, it means basically pulling the hips back more. You're in a lower position with the hinge. Drawing the shoulders back. Up towards the heart, front. And then up high, hinge the hips back a little bit more. And then out. Again, one last time, just hinge it back, even lower. So you're maintaining the distance you had before. A bit lower back, keeping the knees really beyond the ankle if you can. Chest up, chin back, and more length. You've got 3 points of contact. So you've got the heel, you've got the base of the big toe, and you've got the little toe, where the little toe is. Nice deep breath in to the heart. Keep lengthening through the back of the neck. Span the back of the ribs. And then up. Hinge back a little bit deeper. Last deep breath out, you're going to go down. Hands down, pull the hips back. Nice deep breaths. Pull the hips away from the hands. Nice deep breath out. Bring the hands to the shins. Pull the back up. Again, straight. Pulling the neck long. Chest sticking out. All the focus is really in the lower back. Don't let the knees hinge forward. Keep everything falling back. And then cross the hands onto the shoulders. And you're going to bring the hips up. Drop them down. I'm just going to do 8 or 10, just in your own time. Just let the hips hinge. Keeping the knees back. No movement happening in the knees. Back. Fully up. Fully down. Keep the breath going. You feel still like you're kind of falling back. Couple more. Last time into the founder, the back. Lower back's probably pretty on fire right now. Mine is. Okay, last one, put the hands in front here. Back's really on fire. You can now pull the hands up and you can do this alternating. If you feel okay, you can do this up and down. If not, just hold them up high. Hold it, deep breath in. We pull the center. Everything's holding together from the center. And slowly come out of it. Do that. Oh, yeah. Good. And just shake the body up, especially at the hips. And if the lower back's on fire, that's good. You're doing it right. Okay, great. Just take a BOKKEN, which is some very light. There's a BOKKEN. Okay. Loosening the arms and the back again. Just raising up, sinking down. Coming down to the ground, raising up. And keep the BOKKEN quite close to the body. So you're kind of coming up, letting it drop down, bending down, touching the ground with it, coming up, raising up, down. Now really working the knees, the base. Into a very light squat. Good. Okay, just with the hands here, just like you've got the sword, raising up, just dropping down. Raising up, dropping down. To really take your time at the bottom as well. So the two positions at the floor and at the spine. Just really take your time with them. No rush. Base of the spine into the ground. Into the spine and down. Good. So. Just try this. In order to do this, you've got to let go one side, so you can let go either the right or left. If you do it, let go one side and then draw the hands up. So what you're looking for in this case, what I don't so much want in this case is like a very loose shoulder, so that it feels very kind of wobbly. So I want to go through the full range of motion. I don't want to put stress into it, but I want to feel that the shoulders really all the time engaged with the body. So I don't want it too loose in this case. So just watch if you go like this, let it go and keep the shoulders quite tight. So I'm especially focusing on the shoulder blades at the back, drawing them together and then drawing them out. And the back. So it's still relaxed, there's no kind of added tension, and I'm not trying to fix the shoulder. What I'm trying to do is just engage the core through the shoulder joint. Keeping it quite engaged all the time. Cool. Engaged. Engaged. You're just looking to open the mobility of the shoulder. That's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. That's it. Try and feel a little bit with this is like the whole top of the structure. What I don't want to do is that part of the structure to kind of collapse into it. So then it becomes something like a squash down. So this is compression in a kind of bad way because what's happening is a kind of structural collapse through the system. And there's a tendency to also mirror that in the knees. So something kind of collapsing through. And then there's no real ground for the movement. So just try and get a sense of this length, nice solid structure. And then what it does is kind of compresses down through the structure. But it doesn't lose any of the length in the body. And also that's true of the knees. There's no real sense of kind of collapsing through them. This is really where the structure's kind of doesn't really know where to go. So really give the body really clear structure, and it's just going to kind of fall into itself. And now what you do is just get a sense that you're just going to lower the sword down. Always working with a sense of length through the body. And this is really going together with the grounding. This kind of lengthening extension through the spine and the grounding, really part of the same idea. If I have the ground with no lengthening, this is really compressive, too much compressive work. Yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it. Just placing it down. That's it. Try to do this really slow, so you've got this movement. One of the tendencies for us is to kind of speed up somewhere along in the cut. Just get the feeling that you can do this really slow. It goes painfully slow because I like to go fast, so it's really, I need to force myself to do these kind of things, but just get a feeling that you can do this really millimeter by millimeter. You actually find the exercise is much harder, slower. You go super, super slow. I want to hear the creaking in my gi. It's going. If I don't hear that, I'm doing it too fast. So everything's kind of creaking in the gi. So I do it. That's yeah. And try not to speed any of the movement up. So all of it's going the same. Good. And keep it super slow, but now introduce the focus. So here, slow, focus. As soon as it reaches the horizontal, that comes on. Engage from the hip, that, and really, really tightly squeezing the sword. Really comes online. And my hope is that it doesn't lock the joints up, so I don't want something like that. So just try and focus now. Keeping the speed and in the focus. The focus is light in the tip of the sword, but it's heavy in the hands. Really heavy in the hands, so it's really strongly gripping. That's it. You'll get a really faint wobble if you get both hands together. You get a really, really, really very faint wobble with it. That's it. What this also teaches is the kind of sweet spot for the sword work. So in terms of the grip work, so it will teach me is like if I'm too early with the focus, so it's really really totally in the wrong place totally. And it will also teach me when I go past it. So somewhere here, and then I try to squeeze them together, everything will actually go on. That's okay if I'm adjusting the strike for a low strike. But for this position, I really want the sword to be lined up with the hip and then in that position. So I really want to feel like it's hit the ground as I do it. If I go too far before I initiate it, the body gets caught out. If I don't go far enough, the body, it just gets stuck in the arms. So I'm really trying to release the cup. So this, center handed. And it's about there. There. Or you can also just play with gently raising the sword. So I'm actually raising it from the point, just relaxing the grip. There. Relaxing the center and then pressing it in. This. Oh, it's about that one. That one. And I really want both hands to kind of come together. And at the same time, get in the center in it. Go, 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 go. There we go. You can really work a sweat doing just this exercise. If you do this kind of with the core engaging, really tight grip, the body really, everything has to really engage with it. Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Also play with separating. These are two actions in the body. There's the core coming together, that, and then the grip in the hand. These are two separate actions. We bring them together and we work them together, but know that you can split them. So the center comes in, center comes in, center comes in, and then the grip. And I need, in the case of us, they're separate moves because it's a rhythm to it. I get the center in place, and then the hand. One comes after the other. When we start, we tend to make these two one thing. Gum, 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 gum. But in reality, that's going to be separate. Center, center, dum. Imagine when you grab someone also in the dojo, so you settle the center first, and then you make contact with them. If I make contact with them and then try and settle it, it's too late. They'll have already, if we're working in switched on, they'll already have taken my balance because at the point of contact, they should be moving. So in this case, get the sense that you ground first, and then the grip comes into it. And it's a split second, but it's really essential to get this feeling like the center's in place first. And that's what we use when we do the kumi tachi. So the center's in place, and then I cut through it. Cut through it. That's it. And you don't even need to think about the center, you can just think about the hips engaging. Just notice. You can think about the hips, you can think about the core. Something's going to engage from the center of your body to do it. That's it. That's it. Great. Good, and then just make it into the 𝒊𝒔𝒏 here. So keep it nice and slow, but heavy. And working the same principles. Find the back, nice and relaxed, long through the body, and then engaging through it. Engaging through it. Engaging. There. Again, don't be afraid to make a tight grip with on the BOKKEN. Through it. Good. That's it. Good. Nice, nice, nice. Good. Let's see. Great, good, 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 good. Okay, so the focus now much more is on the hip, what the hips are doing. So when you're in this square position, the work of the hips is super easy. They're just kind of hinging down and opening the knees to bend as you go. So this is very simple. When you go to hammy, it's a bit more complicated because the hips are in a triangular position. So just what it says, if I do just the kind of hinge forward with the hip, this will kind of happen. And then I've got all these issues of destabilizing the body. So I have to pull out and do things like that. If I'm doing that with the hip, I'll tend to do this with the back. So I'll start to do something like that. Everything starts to press out. This is to stabilize the body. And I don't really want that as a kind of problem because it's a solution to something I don't need to do. So when you do this, just focus on the hips. This position, they're square on, pretty much square on. And then as you go, you're going to hinge into it. Hinge into it. So the body's doing something like this. This. But it's not doing something like this. This will cause a whole load of problems that I just don't need to do. So just get a sense that it's not so much about cutting out, it's about cutting down. So the first subra is really, really establish the down direction much more. Yes, the outs include, but it's not about going forward with the body. So you're not really cutting out with it. It's much more about establishing the base. You're really entering into the hammy. And the first one is really used to hammer in the hammy. Literally. Over and over.
Hi, thanks.
That's it. That's it. Good. And every once in a while, forget about the focus. Just get the feeling of the body coming down through the cut. Now, the moment I'm pushing the body into the cut, I really feel that because the body's kind of doing this. So that means I'm basically relying on the sort of kind of counterweight. But I don't want to use the sword like a counterweight. I want to really make it part of the movement of the spine. So it's really about including the sword into the back. So it should feel really unified with the hips and the spine. Just play with it. You can either just cut through, just place it, or focus with it. But every time the body's doing the same thing, hinging in, and so it's really useful just to break down the exercise as well. Don't feel you always need to do the full to the back, fully forward. Break it down a little bit. Yeah. There we go. Very nice, there we go. Okay, this is one problem where if it's something I'm trying to do, this will also create problems. So just watch it. Grounding is not something you do, it's something you allow to happen through the structure. So when you do this, if I do something like this with the body, it will create all these kind of shock waves through the body because I'm trying to push something down through the system. This is really actively doing. It's not bad, but it's in a case I really want to do something much more with it. It's much more, in a case, passive. I'm just letting the body settle down. settle down, but I'm not trying to push the body into it. This is goes, and it goes right up into the neck for me. This goes like that. And then if I add in that really heavy focus, everything, it's impossible to ground that kind of movement because I'm doing something into the ground, and the ground will always respond back to you. So it will push back at you. What I want is the ground to receive me totally. Boom. I want always that kind of feeling with the ground. But I don't want the ground to kind of reject my movement. And it will totally if you do something like that. It'll just bounce up back at you. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. Good. Yes, that's it. There we go. Good. Great, and then just take it to 𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒿. So you're cutting in. Yeah, rotating over. Gaze the hip. And keeping that sense, just dropping into the base. Hinging the hips. Really great movements for the hips. If I can release them through the movements. Okay, just watch one thing, especially when we do this one, because there's a loosening in the spine through the movement, and then there's an engaging of it. There's one thing tends to happen, especially when we go to these kind of movements. Just watch this. You go here, and then I kind of loosen through the top, and then this kind of thing happens. So what happens is something like that. So the spine's too loose, especially in the neck. So the kind of looseness, and the spine's trying to absorb that through a really loose kind of system. And what you'll get is this kind of whiplash through the chin. We'll do like something like this. So just get a sense all the time that you're engaging through the top of the skull. So it's really like a lengthening through the spine. So even though when you do this, yes, the hips release, but when you come through, you're engaging through the top of the head. But just watch something like that. Try and get the head to really engage. Just know that the head's the top of the spine. So really include it in the spine as it goes through. Spine as it goes through. There. So it should feel really, really long through the movement. So especially I don't want to decompress the body through this kind of movement. I want to crunch the body. I want to really lengthen through it. Lengthen through all the movements. And just listen to what's happening with the head. It's quite a tricky area to feel because you can't really see it happening just because you can't see your head. But you can feel the effect of it. So whiplash, kind of, or even tightening the front of the neck to brace it. But just get the sense that you can just lengthen the back. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. Good. And then coming into number 2. So coming into right side, roll to the back, finding the back, pressing through. Nice and heavy with the cut. Coming right up into 𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒿. Really open the hips out and then engaging forward, pressing everything through. Roll to the back, press through. Keep nice and long through the spine. All the time, lengthen. And set. just try this the next time, just so you know what it feels like. Just when you do this, just watch that. What you don't do is kind of raise it up with the elbows. As you do it, something like this. This is coming up. Just try this so you really know what it feels like. It feels totally awkward when you do it. So if I do the raise like this, by splitting the elbows out and coming out, but the elbow's actually doing something like that, out to the side. So if you feel this structure, what it feels like, it's really totally weak. So the shoulders actually split out and the elbow's in a really, really, really tricky position. It's actually the elbow's pointing out and up. It's coming out and up in this kind of position. If you try and hold this for any amount of time, you'll kind of really suffer with it. The shoulder's very, very weak in that position. So when you get this, feel that the elbow's always down. So the elbow's pointing down to the ground, but it's not out and out to the side. So just get a feeling all the time that the elbow especially, and that the elbow's a sign for the shoulder, because if the shoulder's up and to the side, the elbows will follow that motion. So if I'm lifting the sword from the shoulder, that will happen almost automatically. It's very hard to not open the elbows. So get a sense that what you're actually raising it with is the feet and the hips. And the arm's just doing good, that, but it's not doing good, that. It's just, again, it's kind of too much. It's kind of forcing the raise. Just play with it a little bit. I just think heavy elbows. So if you've got a weight all the time attached to the elbow, just dragging you down. Like Adrian's weights, if you were to put them on a string to your elbow and hang them down to the ground. So the weight's actually on the ground. So it's like hanging off the elbow like this. So the elbow's constantly, boom, draining down. This is the feeling you've got in Taina Henko, boom, but not somewhere there, kind of pushing out. We almost
give any new ideas.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. New. Get this feeling like a thread. It's like a very fine thread attached to the elbow, but it's very heavy. And I'm working against that movement, but it's always dragging me down. That's the relationship to that, but I don't want to resist against it, kind of try and pull out of it. I don't want to pull against it, if that makes sense. This is basically taking the slack out of the system.
I think my elbows are all over the place.
Yeah.
So but if I try to point them forwards, that suddenly crunches up right into my neck even.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm doing that. So I don't even doing that, do I?
Yeah, this is why the shoulder is really crucial, because the moment I tense the moment the shoulder is full of tension, I try now, okay, keep the elbow forward. Ugh. This will do that to me. So it will do something like that. So I need to release the shoulder. So I need to really allow the shoulders to release through it. This is why these exercises are really, really important for us, this kind of movement, because I need to really allow the shoulders to release. So I need to be working the shoulders really the way they're designed, rather than working the shoulder in something like this. So we as soon as I go to work in the shoulder, if you think about Ikkyo, going into the Ikkyo like this, and then trying to push through with the elbow, this will really not go well. So what I need to do all the time is drain the shoulder down. And that gives the hip really a chance to kind of press the movement through from the center of the body. So it's all these kind of foundation exercises, all these, they focus almost all exercise based where I'm using the structure of the arms well, is that the shoulders are always rolling back and down. Now there's exceptions to that when I'm raising up, but I always want to keep the feeling of backing down through the movement. The moment I tense the shoulder up, do these kind of things, it's just, I'm just splitting my power totally away from the hips. Yeah, more like, yeah. This is actually the teaching of the first 𝒊𝒏𝒈. So the first 𝒊𝒏𝒈 is really designed to release the shoulder. So it really, I don't need any shoulder power to do the first 𝒊𝒏𝒈, that kind of movement. And then all I'm doing with this is transferring that to a backwards movement. But keeping the shoulders, they're springy, relaxed, but focused down. And then coming through with it, something down. That's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Ooh. Okay, good. We're going to 5. So same issues. Now you're coming into the Yokumen this way. Just do a couple cuts. You can go backwards and forwards. Do it however you like in the space. But just try and get a sense now you're working with Yokumen and really a different kind of hip work now. Pressing everything forward. Really establishing this diagonal cut through the hips. That's it. That's it. Good. Also, try an exercise. Really good to know when you do this. Try and keep the grip as tight as possible. So I'm really going to grip tightly, tightly, tight. There is a way I can just about get away with this if I'm very good. I'm not so good to do it. So grip very tightly and then find the 𝒕𝒉𝒂𝒕. It comes through like this. So all you'll feel is the shoulder basically doing all this kind of work because there's no mobility. The mobility is locked in the grip into the sword and it's locked here. So what will happen is the shoulders have to do something like this to do it. So just feel it when you do it. So really grip tightly onto the sword. There's no release in the sword. So you feel everything kind of blocks up. And for me, it all blocks up in the throat. So it's almost impossible to talk while I do that kind of exercise. But just get a feel for it, just so you know what that feels like. For me, it feels totally nasty, but it's worthwhile just knowing what it feels like. Really grip tightly. Yeah. And this is good when you're a teacher because you need to be able to imitate people as well, because sometimes you'll see people do things and you need to understand why it is they're doing them and try and show them sometimes, because the better people see it and feel it, the easier it is. Yeah. Okay, good. So now try the opposite way. I'm going to try and make it easy. So I've got a tight grip when I make the cut, but as soon as I go into the movement, the hands are releasing through the sword. We've got this scissoring with the grip because the hands are basically creating a kind of scissoring action with the sword. If I need any kind of mobility on the sword, I need the hands to be quite loose, released. They can't be really rigid. We'll just lock the whole system. So just as you go through, you can do this very slow. There's a release that comes with the footwork. And then you can just very lightly finish it. And then as you go through, as soon as you go with the feet, release. As soon as you go with the feet, release. And you really want to get this kind of feeling where you're scissoring through the grip as you do it. Later, this gives you real speed. But it feels a little bit loose because it feels like I'm going to lose the sword as I do it, but you can really release the hands quite a lot. What's going to stay is the contact with the palm, but the fingers, everything can kind of release through it. And if you're kind of used to this movement, also try a few fast as well, because it's useful to feel what it would be like, kind of not full speed, maybe 80%. But that's it. Yeah, exactly, Bernie. Yeah. That's it. Got it. Yeah. That's it.
More into the show.
Yeah. Good. So know that also the center and that hands working together, that's going to be the same. So you've got what you need to get is the feeling that as you release, there's a release from the center in terms of movement. So the center is kind of kicking the sword up through the movement. So, and that's being channeled from the ground. So you get this feeling that you get the ground is in place, release the center, and the sword's kind of kicked up with it. So what you want to do is you've got that tie. This connection is tight. This. And then what I do is release it from the center. And then I find it again here. But always think that the center is going to come first. Center fixes here, and the hands fix. And then the center releases, hands release. So it's always going to come from the center. Center, hands. Center, hands. Center, hands. It's going to come together. This is kind of the order we're always working. It's never going to go kind of hands first in this case. That's it. Allow yourself to release it from the hips. That's it. Yeah, good. Nice. And this is essential for a really clean attack as well. Just want to go. Boom. That's it. Good. Good. Okay, let's come into number 7. Just to make the hits really clear, start now from a shomanuchi, so you're like this. Come into number 1 here, and then you've got these really tight hips forward. And then what you do now is roll the hip through this way. And then as you go, what you're going to do is roll to the back, find the shoman, find the ski. So I like this one because it really makes the transition very clear. Shomanuchi here with the hip, and then finding the ski. Roll, find the shoman, find the ski. Shomanuchi, ski, as you come through. That's it. That's it. That's it, that's it, that's it. Good. That's it. Whoosh. Whoosh. Good. Okay, we're going to try this. So this is a little bit from the first Kumitachi, the movement, but you're just going to start with the first suburu. So you come down here, and what you're going to do is press through the back foot, come out this way. I'm just going to focus on the strike through, so don't worry about the head. Yeah. You're going to go back, here, and then from the back foot, this comes through. And just focus on striking through the stomach. So we've got a stomach level strike in, through. You're coming to here, and just bring the feet together at the end of it. Let's give this a try. That's it, that's it, that's it. Yeah, that's it, that's it, that's it.
Do you want to snap or do you want to pull it through?
You can play with both actually. It depends on your mood. It depends on your mood as you do it. You can do both. But you want a definite contact point. But if I'm doing the follow through, it's basically the snap. It's basically the snap. Yeah. And then I press it through. So it's like goes through. So I'm kind of tapping the person, boom, and then through it. So I'm basically the follow through is just the snap, boom, carried through. So it's like doing the hurricane, but through, doing this. So what you're doing is dong. I can just snap it like that, and then in this case I basically go snap follows through. Boom, boom, kind of drives through it, and you're driving through with the back hip. But just play with it. It's kind of catching the motion. Tricky.
The walls are not playing nicely with me, so hit them if I follow through.
Yeah, so this is a good one. There's a really great picture of Saito Sensei doing, I think he's doing a variation of a kumitachi, or he's doing the full kumitachi to full flow. There's a really beautiful picture of him. he looks totally out of balance, but he's like really dynamically balanced through the movement. I'll try and find the picture later, but what you want is this really kind of dynamic press through. So what I don't want to do, think about this movement that I don't need to make a big contact on the body. I don't need a lot of power because I'm basically, oh, that's enough. That light tap is kind of enough. So as you go through, the power of it in any event is going to be in the ground. So get a sense that what you're doing is passing the body through the ground. It's not about the sword. Again, it's about my connection to the ground. So just get a sense that that contact can be actually very, it can feel light, but the heaviness is going to come from the body. So just play with it. And it's really about establishing the root in the ground. So it can be actually, it can feel like it's quite light here, but what you're actually doing is channeling weight the whole way to the body through the tip of the sword. Through there. It has to be very, very relaxed. Actually, the more relaxed, the better in this case. There we go. Yeah. Nice. Okay, I'll give you a different multiplier. It's the same start. You just got an extra movement now. So you do like this, into the stomach. This passes through. So the sword passes through to here. Now what you do is a similar hit work to the first kumitachi. You roll back and you strike through this way. The blade's going to come at an angle this way. So what you've done is you've done a successful strike. So you've got the person in this kind of position. And then this, you can be nice and you can hit the back of the leg to take the person out. Or you can be nasty and you say the top of the head. Off the back of the neck. So in this case, you've got a choice, but you've got this first move, this. So just to really establish the hip. This, nice and comfortable, and then the hip passes through. So yeah, 1, 2, 3. And you can play a little bit with the height of the cut, the end, but it's going to be a kind of variation on the yokomen.
Excuse me, are there two partners now? One on the left, one on the right?
No, just one. You're hitting him 1, 2 in the stomach, and then bam in the back of the knee, like this. You've got this person like this, and then you go bam onto the back of the knee this way. So you're taking twice. Just one guy. One guy will go. There we go.
There's a lot of peace and harmony.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, totally.
It's about our own individual peace and harmony.
Yeah, exactly.
Pieces and harmony.
Pieces and harmony. Pieces. There we go. That's it. Yeah. So it's a nice movement, and again, I love all these variations because they're really challenging for the hip work. So you're in this position, you've gone through. Now, what I need to do is re-establish the hips as the center of the work. So if I go now with the hands, they're going to kind of pull around. There's no root to the movement because they just spin out the center, they'll spin off the center. So get that feeling here, and then deeply in the core of the body, and then really just feel that the sword's going to go with that action. So just play with this kind of motion.
Oh yeah.
What I do is that. So again, that movement can actually be very light, and it doesn't need a lot of power to be effective because I'm actually hitting a very weak area. So it would be the side of the knee to take the knee out. So in this case, I don't need a ton of power. So I'm hitting really weak points in the body. So it's like that, and then that. You can do super, super light, but the key thing is to be really heavy in the body. And it should feel easy as well. If it feels like a lot of work to kind of hold the body together, probably too much tension. That's it, Keith. Yeah. That's it. There we go. Okay, we'll do one more tricky one to finish. So it goes like this. Find the cut here, and then what you do, rather than kind of coming into it, what you do is pull the body to the side. So you go up to this position here. So you've got this, and then I pull the body out here. Draw the sword with me this way. And then from here, what you do is pull the body under, and then roll through with the cut this way. This is really a 𝒕𝒂𝒃𝒃 movement, but I'll try and show it a few times. You've got this, draw the body out, and then from it, send everything in. Again, from the hip, connect through, and you cut down on that side. Let's see, 1, draw, strike through, turn and cut. It's finishing on the left side this time. It goes here, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Is that good? Yeah, it's a really specific move. So this actually comes from it's difficult to show, but it comes from a 𝒕𝒂𝒃𝒃 variation where you go to the side and you're in this position. So I'm in this position, and then I cut through, and then I roll through the 𝒕𝒂𝒃𝒃. So the position's really quite specific. It's come into this. So there's a raise up from the center here, this way. So when you do this with the BOKKEN, goes this position, you slide out to the side and you're here. So in this case, it's not here. Somewhere around here, and then kind of coming around, you're actually in this position. Yeah, so it's quite low. It's a 𝒂𝒂𝒃 variation. So you're here, cut down, roll to the side here, and then from here, the hips in the perfect position just to cut through, cut through, cut through, and then I drive that with the back leg. That way through, cut right through. And that's it. The setup's really important for this one. That's it. That's it, Bernie. Yeah. Yeah, see this, although this looks like 2 moves, it's actually 1 move. It's like the 𝒕𝒂𝒃𝒃. So when you do 𝒕𝒂𝒃𝒃 in a normal speed, this is all 1 move. 1. That movement's all 1. It's not really 2. 1, 2. This is not really how it is. It's just 1 move. So just try this. The coordination's difficult. Just so you can get this 1, 2, and then this is all 1 long movement. 3, cut down. Let's see that now just in the last few minutes. 1, 2, and it's driven by the footwork of the center. Go, 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 go. Nice big movement. That's it. Yeah. Big, slow rotating cut. Yeah. That's it. Okay, last minute or so, just loosen everything off. We've done a lot of kind of shoulder work, quite heavy on the shoulders. So just be a bit loose with the sword. So treat it like a sword, but very loosely, very lightly. So really, again, the focus is really on the body. So just roll through the movement. Go left side, right side, playing with rotation work. A little bit of striking work, but not really the focus, really on the ground and getting the hips to really revolve. And very, very light in the upper body. So just to kind of loosen off a little bit. You can also play with any kind of variations you want. You can also play with just taking the sword coming through. So we're practicing the sword work for body work totally. So this is not about learning kenjutsu forms. Totally not. The focus is always going back to the core. You can play with anything in this state. Ikkyos, kotegaishis. We do these kind of movements all the time, these kind of slicing movements, not just exclusively for Shiganagi. All the time, they're kind of littered in the techniques. What? Oh. Whoosh. That's it. Yeah. Just the last 20, 30 seconds. Do this really slow. So do it like super slow motion. So you're going to kind of roll through it, and really focus on the shoulders. So the hip open, shoulders open, really transmitting everything through the ground. You've got these hasso movements, all the movements that really involve the hips. Something very, very dense, heavily connected, but really simple as well. There we go. Very nice. Yeah, great. Great. Okay, we'll stop there. So we're gonna, through these next kind of weeks, we're gonna look at a bit more of the sword forms, and I'm gonna build up to a workshop at the end of the month, which is gonna be based on the Kumitachi. So we'll kind of work a lot more on the Suburi, because the Suburi really needs to be in place to kind of go to this kind of level in the Kumitachi, because as you kind of see, they're all based on these kind of variations of different vectors that we use and different ideas of organizing the body that we use in the Suburi. And the more those are in place, the easier it is to kind of travel into the system in these kind of different levels where we're looking at more complex movements. So we'll look at that. But it's very easy to get lost in the sword. And I start to rely on the sword, and I start to think that I'm learning kenjutsu forms, and it's not really the case. We're really trying to train a connected body to connect to anything. Sword, jo, knife, ball, person, dog, whatever. So that's the kind of point with all this kind of stuff. So not to get too lost in the sword forms, although they are very, very interesting. So that's the paradox. So, okay, domo arigatou gozaimashita.
Domo arigatou gozaimasu.
Good.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Sweat.